in our program, there's a statement made that talks about the fact that last year when we had the IDA Congress, the Congress theme was Design of the Edges. And that this theme, Design for Value, stems from that theme, and that there is one possible supposition that the edges really truly disappear. So one big question I have for our panel is, do we need to continue to have specializations within design, or do we think that design expertise begins to all blend and merge and there is only one thing called design? And maybe we'll just ask the same question. Everyone started with Kris.
No, yeah, okay. I actually believe that when I was listening to the speeches of the other guests today, and they are talking about service design, service design, service design, and they go through their presentation, and I'm supposed to be a product designer. And I actually thought, when I heard all that, I'm a service designer. I'm not a product designer. And there is a convergence in everything, because all the topics and all the areas that they kind of warn and point out what is important and how you need to look, in my field, I need to look at exactly the same points. And then I was thinking, okay, why is that? Because I think more and more we finally got it. Companies are getting it, the world is getting it. It's about people. It's about the person, the end customer, the end client, the end user, and it's about their needs. And I think maybe it's because of the internet that finally we are hearing what they are saying. For the longest time, brands and designers and academia inclusive, we've all been telling them what they are saying. But because of social media, because of this abundance of tools that they can use and have at their disposal to say what they actually think, it's amazing that for the first time we are truly thinking about their needs. So I think, yes, design is converging, and it is converging around the end consumer or the end client or the end user.
Thank you. Question for Kris. So we know that the services design is, or at least we've heard that services design has a strategic component.
Yeah, when I was listening to the speech, and maybe I can bring a little bit of Taiwan in here. I've been here 20 years. I've been doing business with Taiwanese companies for 20 years, and fully agreeing with the presentation that actually a service design, that if you look at a corporation, it should be implemented at a strategic level, top-down, corporate, in order to be implemented throughout the company. That's one thing. And then the other thing the professor said, and also you, is that don't work in silos. You know, this is a big problem in terms of actually implementing. And what I see a lot in Taiwanese corporations is silos. People working in their divisions, and actually people not very much, even in the same company, interacting with other divisions. I have had ample of projects where we talk to a development team in Taiwan and we say, oh, maybe we can add this innovation to your product. And the team would say, but we don't have the technology for that. We don't know how to do that. And I say, you see the guy sitting over there? He knows exactly how to do that. Even and this is, Taiwan is very departmentalized in their business. So it's going to be very interesting. How are you going to, from the top down, create a service-oriented design into corporations in Taiwan? And in all honesty, I think James will agree with me, it's even product design, we're not there yet, and in branding, we're not there yet. So it's going to be interesting how, and Taiwanese companies will have to do this in order to be successful. It's not because we know better what we're talking about. It's proof of, you know, and that is going to be your task to your management, is to implement this top-down structure and say, look, don't listen to my division. We need to think beyond my division. Not my boss, but his boss, and the guy from the top down. So that's going to be. In Taiwanese business culture, at least, the boss is always right, and everybody does what the boss says, even if the boss is wrong, and everybody in the room knows the boss is wrong. The boss is always right. You're going to have to get past that. Western companies don't have that. We look at our boss and we go, the boss is always wrong. We're right. We'll tell him. You know, that's how we do it. So we're used to that. And Taiwan needs a little bit of that. So service design, industrial design, branding, user interface. We are, because it's very difficult to prove in design that you are right. So what Andres says is, one, prove. Do proof of concept, do proof of discipline, so you can go to your boss that stands there and says, we have to do this. Excuse me, we tested it. And actually, not me, but a consumer says, we should do that. Maybe he'll open his mind, and maybe he'll, and this is a little bit of problem that Taiwan is still facing us today, is that not enough proof of concept. Just, the boss said we have to do A, so let's all do A. And half the room knows that B was probably the better direction to take, but nobody interferes. So I think this focus on proving your concept, walking in, and because design is so subjective, and your boss is not a designer, to explain a design idea is very difficult. But if you've proven it, and you say, hey, look, the consumer pushes that button before he pushes that button. Not me, not because I say so. We should use that. They'll start listening. So it's very important for Taiwanese design in general to start learning to say no to the boss. And I think you've been in those situations too. Lucky I'm an outsider. I've been in many a meeting where the boss comes in and the boss, dat vindt jou wel leider om die ding uit te zeggen. And I, as a foreigner, oh, I don't think that's a good idea. And the whole room's like, oh, okay. And he listens to me, and I convince the boss to do what I tell him to do, or what we think makes sense from a design point of view. Half of the people in that meeting will come to me after me, oh, Kris, I'm saying, why don't you tell your boss that if you know it's not the right direction to take? Tell him. And you're going to have to learn that, because the beauty about Taiwan is it's built empires on tycoons, on people that have, they're amazing people. You see Acer, you see Foxconn, they're amazingly smart people, but they can only know that much. And as a designer, whatever design discipline you are doing, it is sometimes your job to convince your boss, even before your client, you know, in your case, this is the right way to go. This is what you have to do. And the best way you can do that, and I fully agree with you, whatever design discipline, proof of concept. Walking, not because I know it's better, we've tested it, and the market responds better to that. And you say, yeah, well, your market could be 10 of your friends. And if you show that 10 people act the same way, the boss may go, wait a minute, maybe they are right. A little bit of a Taiwanese twist to it.
Thank you. I know that we're almost out of time, but there's a very important question that I think must get asked. So I'd like to pose the question, and maybe have each of our panelists answer it. And then depending on how you all feel, and maybe have one final question from you all. And the question is this. We know that, going back to this big thought that design is the creative industry of the 21st century. Taiwan particularly, but many nations are using design as a nation-building tool. So they're looking at design as an economic factor for growth in the next decade, 2, 3, 4, 5 decades. And my question is, in terms of this, we know design is here to stay. It isn't going anywhere. In fact, if anything, it's becoming broader and more distinct. What about service design? So I'd love to hear your point of view in terms of, I don't know, thinking ahead to service design 20 years from now. Kris, what do you think it will look like here in Taiwan? And then the same for each of you, but perhaps in your respective regions.
It's all about experiences. So I may sound old, you've heard it all about users today are not buying goods anymore, they're not buying products anymore, they're buying experience. A large part of an experience is the service. Let it be the after service, the sales service, the customer service. So obviously this is here to stay. I like the idea of system. These things are all going to have to work. Product design, service design, the whole system has to get much better integrated. And us failing to do so gives an opportunity for bad branding, if I can call it that. Why? Because if you make as a company one mistake, the beautiful consumer of today will let anybody know about it immediately. So it will service it, well, what you call it, product design service, I don't know. But the system aspect of it, I think it's a must for us to continue that. So if we call it system design, it's complicated too. In Taiwan, Taiwanese people are very entrepreneurial people, and Taiwanese people are the first to recognize that things change. So there is, from the government down, a very renewed interest in design in general, and they're very much focusing on promoting design, and it's a logic step for Taiwan to take in the growth of Taiwanese companies. The service design part of that, initially it may not be called that because many bosses may not want another designer has to pay for, but you know they will logically step into more integrated systems, and this is a beautiful challenge because of, again, I go back to OEM environment. Taiwanese companies have only taken care of a certain aspect of product development or even, let's say, business, and that is expanding on both sides, and service design is very important in that equation. So there's room for you to start a branch in Taiwan, I think, in time. So yes, I think it will get involved into the economy and into the